Chris looked so tired. If I'm Phoenix, I'm watching that game thinking, I'm not signing Chris Paul to a 3-year deal. What did you make of Chris Paul's performance? Let's start with that.
It's rough. It's that's 15 turnovers in 3 games. This is very un-Chris Paul-like. I do think he looks 36 years old. I do think we're seeing Chris Paul, some of the issues we've had, seeing him sustain for a long series. This might be 3 more games, right? He might have to knuckle it up for 3 more games. He's got to play better. He's got to bounce back. He's doing pretty good at kind of orchestrating things. He's still the consummate floor general. The problem is they're set up for him to be more than that. He can't be out there just, okay, here you go, Book. Here you go, Ayton. You kind of need Chris Paul to get you 25, right? So I think it's surprising to see him turn the ball over like this, but also they got to figure out a counter, because I don't know what Mike Budenholzer was doing game 1, but game 2, he said, hey, Drew, I want you on Chris Paul, and I want you to just harass him, and I want you to stay with him. And it's been a problem for Chris Paul. It's been a big problem. And if they don't figure that out, this could go down as the latest in a list of disappointing ends for Chris Paul.
Well, on Holiday's 30 pounds heavier. I mean, Drew didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but, it's funny. Like, they need Middleton to be a shot maker. They need Giannis to give him 30. They don't need Drew Holiday. I mean, they've got some depth. They got an 8-man rotation. I thought tonight, he kind of pushed Chris around, forced him off, forced him to the side he's not comfortable with. And I sat there and I watched Drew Holiday, and I'm like, I don't need his points tonight. I thought he was a huge factor on the defensive end. He's a funny player that if you watch the league like we do, he's a very, very good player. He just hasn't, he doesn't get on TV a lot. This is a high profile series for him. Now people are pushing back going, everybody tells me that Drew Holiday is underrated. Now he's overrated because I hear how often he's underrated. But I thought tonight you could make an argument tonight. He was as valuable as anybody on the floor except Chris Middleton.
But I'm still on the Drew Holiday is underrated bandwagon. Don't kick me off yet. I'm still with it. I'm still feeling like Drew. Like, we gotta respect Drew's name and his game, because look, I'm being a little facetious here, but yeah, Drew has stunk it up on offense more than you thought. Yeah. Some people are calling him Drew Bledsoe, right? Like, but man, it's hard to do what he's doing. It's hard. Like, this is Chris Paul we're talking about. This isn't Patrick Beverly, right? This isn't like, Monte Morris, right? This is Chris Paul. This is one of the all-time greats, and his assignment is to make his life miserable and make him less than the player he was. So you just need this, right? You need him to do that, and he's done it with Kevin Durant. Like, he's done it. Like, you pick the player, right? The series, he's done it. So I think it's actually incredible, and they do need his offense. But if they could get something from Pat Connaughton and Brook Lopez,
that's right. That's right.
Need it, right? Like, but if Pat Connaughton is airballing threes, then you kind of need Drew. I feel like if Drew is hitting shots, you can't beat Milwaukee, right? But if Drew and Middleton are hitting shots with Giannis being Giannis, you're not beating Milwaukee. But the reason you could beat Milwaukee is because those dudes, all 3 of them, don't hit shots all the time, right? But yeah, the job he's doing on Chris Paul, you know what it reminds me of? Colin? And I don't know how this is going to shake out in Finals MVP. I don't think we're going to put Drew in there, but this reminds me of LeBron being guarded by Iguodala in 2015. And he didn't stop LeBron, but he just made his life so difficult that over time it had this cumulative effect, right?
Yes.
And obviously Chris Paul is not putting up the numbers that LeBron was putting up back then. Like, it's, you look at some of those Bron numbers, it's like 40-point triple doubles, and it's like, how are we praising Iguodala? But he got his percentage down. He made him work, and by the end of the series, Bron was looking around at Matthew Dellavedova and them like, "Yo, can I get some kind of help?" I feel like Drew is that figure on this team where he's like, "Look, I'm just gonna take the best." Well, the head of the snake, and I'm going to make this dude not want to be here, right? Like, I'm going to make him miserable. And that, for me, that's a pretty significant feat at this level.
So, I still like Phoenix to win this series. It feels like I picked Phoenix in 6. I'll pick them in 7. They finished the season and the series at home. I do think, they prefer an up tempo and they're not getting it as often as they'd like. Booker was phenomenal tonight. I mean, the call at the end of the game we can argue about, but come on, the intensity in the last 6 to 8 minutes of that game, we just got to get over it. That's the reality of it. Referees don't want to foul out stars. I mean, that was my
he
takeaway.
Lost, so we could swallow it, right? Like if you won, right, we'd have been pandemonium in the streets.
But I do look at Phoenix, and here's the upside. Chris Paul was a complete non-factor. In fact, was fairly miserable. And that game came down to the last minute and a half. Like, I think if I walk out of here, and I'm Phoenix and 2 of the next 3 are at home, I still like Phoenix. Your thoughts?
I mean, I agree. Like, these aren't, game 3, Milwaukee ran away. But this was a survival right here. Like,
that's right.
A couple plays go a different way. Giannis doesn't get that block, right? Like, you're talking about something different. So I don't think they're out of the woods. All they did was hold serve. They have to win in Phoenix. I don't know how they're going to do that. That's the problem. They got to win in Phoenix. Phoenix is incredible at home because in Phoenix, like, Mikal Bridges becomes an all-star. Yeah, right? Like Cam Johnson never misses, right? You got to deal with Jake. Like, in Phoenix, these dudes are nuts. They're so high octane. They play at the pace you were talking about. Right?
Well, Marcus, they're so young. Young teams play great at home.
But look, Colin, this is where if I'm in Milwaukee, I have some hope. These dudes have never felt this before. This pressure they're about to feel for the next 2 days before games. They've never been in a game 5 in the finals with everything on the line. They've never done that.
Remember that? So, remember the Clippers closeout game at home, and they stunk. Phoenix was so tight.
I'm just like, we don't know how they will respond, right? You figure Chris Paul will bounce back. The dude is too good. Book is gonna be Book, right? We know he's gonna be. Ayton has been one of the most consistent players. It comes down to Mikal Bridges. Well, it comes down to Chris Paul not looking like he looks tonight, right? But then you throw in, it's the Mikal Bridges, it's the Cam Johnson, right? It's the campaigns. Phoenix has this like conveyor belt of really good role players. I wonder how they are feeling right now. How are those shots now that this series 2-2 and it's game 5 and it's time, right? I mean, how will Giannis fare on, right? Like, this, now we got a series, Colin. Now it's about to go down. And if I'm Milwaukee, I'm saying I don't know if these dudes are cut like that. They haven't been through this. They aren't even supposed to be here yet, right? They got to skip the step. So maybe they aren't ready, but I wouldn't put money on it because Phoenix is really good at home.
Well, and I also think sometimes when you lose, what can you talk yourself into on the 3.5-hour flight home? And I think Phoenix is probably saying, hell, Chris was just irrelevant. We were down to an alley-oop to DeAndre Ayton that Giannis blocked. Middleton's not going to play that well in Phoenix the next 2 games, potentially in Phoenix. I think Phoenix can talk their way into, hey, we're in a good space. That's kind of what Marcus, I always feel that. Like, when you lose, how do you lose? Because especially with young teams, so much of it is psyche. Like, and a veteran team like Milwaukee can get pounded in game 1. It doesn't matter. Young teams get buried. It matters. I think Phoenix feels like we led. There was 3 minutes left. There was 3.5 left. I felt Phoenix was going to win the game.
I did too. I thought they would. I was like, Milwaukee hasn't always responded well in these situations, right? Like, I was like, oh, Book really did it. Book really went to Milwaukee and got one. That, to me, that's what makes this series so great. Like, we don't know what the hell is about to happen. Like, we don't know who's going to choke or who's not. We don't know who's going to come through. We kind of don't have any idea, which makes it impressive. But Phoenix at home, man, like, watch Cam Johnson not miss. Watch. This dude doesn't miss from the corner in Phoenix. The crowd's going to be nuts, and Milwaukee's got to win there. So I feel like we're gonna see 7. We're gonna get to game 7. Chris Paul legacy game, Giannis legacy game in Phoenix, and we can't ask for better as basketball fans.
Do you think Mike Budenholzer, the Bucks coach, I kind of feel like he had a couple poor series, and I kind of feel he's redeemed himself in this one a little bit. I really do. I felt, he's made the game more physical. I don't know. I think Budenholzer, so much his adjustments, and he struggled to make those early. But I watched this game tonight, and I'm like, you know what? Phoenix has changed the series. Right now, I feel like Phoenix about 65% of the time is playing Milwaukee's game.
Which is, you got to give Bud credit for that. I mean, I think you got to give Bud credit for the fact that this team never dies, right? Like, some of that is definitely on Giannis, right? That's his kind of spirit being ejected to the team. But this, Bud somehow, some way, when it looks like it's over, when we're like, they're done, somehow they don't die. And that's got to be a credit to Budenholzer. He still frustrates me to death sometimes, right? I'm still like, yo, Booker's the only dude doing anything. How about you take the ball out of his hands, right? Like, what are we doing here? But, he trusts PJ Tucker, and I get it. I get what he's doing. In the end, he's at the cusp of a championship. We can't act like, the dude is a bad coach, but there's still some things where it's like you wonder if he's a little bit too set in his ways to adapt and fly. I do think he's done better. I do think we've seen him get away from a lot of the things that has doomed him. Like Brook Lopez played 19 minutes tonight. I would like to see more Brook Lopez and less PJ Tucker, but in the past, he just wouldn't go small, right? Like, that's what he wouldn't do. Now he's like, yo, let's run my five. Let's put Giannis in center. Let's go. Right. So he has made adjustments. They probably don't come as fast as some people like, but man, he might be a game. He might end up in this thing a game from winning a championship, or maybe even a champion. So we can't kill him too much.
It's funny. If you interrupted a painter in the middle of his art, the painting could look like shit. And then 25 minutes later, it's done, or an hour later, and you're like, oh, that's a piece of art. I picked Milwaukee to win this whole thing, yet I hate them in every series.
Every single one. Yeah.
But what I will say about Milwaukee is they're inartistic at times, but they're men. I mean, between the size of their team, PJ Tucker, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez, this may be a series in which, if I was a Milwaukee fan, I feel like if this was in an octagon or a tug of war, they would win it quick. They're so deep and they're so physical, Marcus. Like, I think Milwaukee thinks tonight, we're the men, they're the kids, and we're just going to wear them down. And they may be right.
I mean, this is what the finals are, right? It's a battle of attrition. It's anything. We've seen it with, like, James Harden's reputation is like, he's great games 1 through 3. Games 4 through 7 is rough, right? It gets increasingly rough. Like this, it is difficult to win a final series against a really good team. Like, it takes another level of resolve, right? It takes some fortitude. This is not a regular series, and Phoenix is going to come back like, we expect them to, and Milwaukee will have to answer. But what you're talking about makes me worry. Chris Paul, what you got? Because
that's right.
We're going to go after game 5, 1 day off in between. This turnaround is going to be quick. And listen, let me tell you, Colin, I covered 5 straight of these things. It is exhausting. It is exhausting. Now, granted, I'm like in the middle seat on Southwest. You know what I'm saying? I don't have people feed me grapes on the charter flight, but it's still exhausting to city, right? And they're flying to Phoenix. It just builds. I wonder about Chris Paul. I wonder, does he have one more in him? Does he have one more big game in him? Can he find it with Drew Holiday all over him? I wonder, does this wear on Booker eventually, having to kind of carry the load while Chris Paul's struggling? He's got PJ Tucker all over him, right? Like,
listen, for tough. 3 quarters, Booker was the only guy that scored double figures.
He
had no help. That's what I don't worry that Phoenix will respond. I worry that the bigger bodies of Milwaukee just keep leaning on him. The games they have shorter gaps between them. Yep. And I wonder if Phoenix I think we're going to know about 5 minutes into game 5. Does Phoenix are they fatigued? Do they have juice? When they have energy and they're at home, they're a tough out.
That's why I want to see more Brook Lopez. Smash them dudes. Get in there. Bring a 7-footer in there. Make them work, right? Like, let's see. These are body blows, right? Like, these are body shots in a championship bout, right? Like, it adds up. It takes effect. And I'm not saying like PJ is obviously a body blow expert, right? Like, this is what he does. Right. But he's also 36, and you kind of want to be like, hey, dude's 6'4".
But he's not asked to lead his team. Chris Paul is.
Oh, yeah,
he's
Chris
just
Paul
asked to be annoying.
Absolutely. I think Milwaukee should ratchet up the size and the physicality.
Yes.
Just lean on them dudes. Like, put Brook Lopez 7'2", 280, and you just gotta feel him all game long. We're seeing what it's doing with Chris Paul. You gotta feel Drew Holiday. You're feeling him all day. I think that's the answer. In Game 7, you just hope those legs don't have it. I've seen this live. 2016, the Warriors' legs were done. They couldn't make a shot. They scored like 83 points or something crazy in a Game 7 at home. Like, you get to the end, that's a different level. So I'd say ratchet up, but get your big dudes in there. None of this Bryn Forbes business. Like, forget the cute stuff. It's Bobby Portis. It's Brook Lopez. It's ground and pound. Like, it's Eastern Conference 90s basketball, right? Slow them dudes down and make them feel you.